PF acting president breaks silence after Nakacinda's jail sentence. Powerful message to HH. Zambia's political temperature has just hit a boiling point. The High Court's decision to uphold Raphael Nakacinda's jail sentence didn't just silence one man, it reignited the nation's most heated political battle. And now, the Patriotic Front's acting president has finally broken his silence. In a bold and emotional press briefing, he stood before the cameras, defiant, unshaken, and delivered a message directed straight at President Hakainde Hichilema. Was it a plea for justice? Or a declaration of political war? Across Lusaka, reactions are pouring in, from shock to anger, from defiance to disbelief. Tonight, we break down what really happened behind those microphones, the words that stun the press, and why this statement could reshape Zambia's opposition politics heading into 2026.
Welcome to InspirAfrica Official, your home for deep, factual, and balanced stories shaping Zambia and the African continent.
In this episode, we focus on the Patriotic Front's acting president and his long-awaited public reaction to the jailing of PF Secretary General Raphael Nakacinda. His words have sparked nationwide debate, touching on justice, democracy, and the future of opposition politics in Zambia. What does his message reveal about the PF's internal direction after Edgar Lungu? How is President Hakainde Hichilema's government responding behind closed doors? And could this moment mark the beginning of a new political chapter in Zambia's post-Lungu era? Stay with us, because what was said at that press conference goes far beyond Nakacinda's court case. It's about the soul of Zambia's democracy, and who controls its narrative. This video breaks down the full press briefing, reactions from PF supporters, and what analysts say about the growing tension between the ruling UPND and the PF. Watch to the end for exclusive insights into how this could reshape Zambia's political. Good day, and welcome to InspirAfrica Official. Zambia's political landscape has once again been thrown into turmoil. Just days after the High Court upheld the jail sentence of Patriotic Front's outspoken figure, Raphael Nakacinda, the nation's political temperature has soared. And now, in a powerful and emotional press briefing held in Lusaka, the Patriotic Front's acting president has finally broken his silence. Standing before the cameras, surrounded by party officials and loyal supporters, he spoke with fire and conviction, directly addressing President Hakainde Hichilema. He accused the UPND-led government of weaponizing state institutions, alleging that the judiciary and law enforcement have become tools of political suppression. In his words, this is no longer just about Nakacinda. It's about the future of democracy in Zambia. That single sentence, sharp, defiant, and deeply symbolic, has already set off a nationwide debate about where Zambia stands in its democratic journey. The acting president's statement comes at a time when many in the opposition feel cornered. The conviction of Nakacinda, once the PF's vocal information chief, is being viewed by the party as a direct attack on freedom of speech and political plurality. Meanwhile, within government circles, officials are defending the High Court's ruling as a triumph for the rule of law, insisting that the judiciary operates independently and without political influence. But for many Zambians, this clash represents something deeper, a struggle over the country's democratic soul. Tonight, we take a closer look at what was said, why it matters, and how this moment, born out of controversy and conviction, could reshape the balance of power in Zambia's political future. The controversy surrounding Raphael Nakacinda has been building for months, but its roots stretch back to 2021, during one of Zambia's most politically charged periods. Nakacinda, then serving as the Patriotic Front's information and publicity chairperson, made public remarks accusing President Hakainde Hichilema of attempting to influence the judiciary in ongoing cases involving opposition members. Those comments were swiftly condemned by government officials, who argued that they were false, defamatory, and intended to undermine public confidence in state institutions. Prosecutors brought forward a case of defamation of the president, a charge that under Zambian law carries severe penalties. After months of hearings and appeals, the court found Nakacinda guilty, sentencing him to 18 months imprisonment with hard labor. Outside the courthouse, hundreds of PF supporters gathered, holding placards that read, "Justice for Nakacinda," and "Free speech is not a crime." Their chants echoed through the streets of Lusaka, demanding his immediate release and accusing the judiciary of bias. The High Court's decision to uphold Nakacinda's conviction has reignited those tensions. Opposition figures call it judicial harassment, part of what they describe as a wider pattern of silencing critical voices. But government authorities have firmly rejected that narrative. In a statement, the Ministry of Justice emphasized, "No individual is above the law. The courts acted independently, and the rule of law has been upheld." Meanwhile, the PF's acting president has transformed the issue into a rallying cry. Speaking at the party's secretariat, he declared, "We are not afraid. If speaking the truth means going to prison, then so be it." His words have spread rapidly online, fueling intense national debate and deepening Zambia's already polarized political climate. To understand what this ruling and the PF's reaction could mean for Zambia's political stability, we spoke to governance analyst Dr. Brenda Sakalu, a lecturer in political science at the University of Zambia. The PF's latest response shows they're repositioning themselves as victims of political persecution. But at the same time, the government is trying to reinforce the idea that no one, regardless of political standing, is beyond the reach of the law. This tug-of-war will likely define the narrative leading up to the next election. Dr. Sakalu explains that the Nakacinda case has evolved far beyond a simple legal issue. It has become a symbolic test of Zambia's democratic maturity. The Patriotic Front's defiance, she says, is part of a broader strategy to rally sympathy and re-energize its base, especially at a time when the party is still struggling to reorganize after losing power in 2021. Meanwhile, for the UPND government, maintaining a firm stance reinforces its image of upholding the rule of law and ending what it calls the culture of impunity from previous administrations. This situation could harden Zambia's political divide. It's not just about Nakacinda, it's about whether citizens still believe in the independence of their institutions. Once that trust erodes, restoring it becomes very difficult. Political observers also warn that continued confrontations between the PF and the government could strain national unity and shift focus away from economic and governance reforms. With the 2026 general elections on the horizon, analysts believe both sides are carefully framing their narratives. One emphasizing justice and accountability, the other highlighting victimization and repression. For now, Zambia stands at a crossroads, where law, politics, and public perception are more intertwined than ever before. I'm reporting live from the Patriotic Front Secretariat here in Lusaka, where the atmosphere remains charged with emotion, tense, yet resolutely defiant. Since early morning, groups of PF supporters have been streaming into the compound, waving party flags, holding placards, and chanting, "Free Nakacinda" and "Justice for all." The mood is one of both frustration and determination. Police have cordoned off nearby roads, maintaining a visible but restrained presence, as the gathering, though loud and passionate, has so far remained peaceful. Party insiders tell InspirAfrica that the acting PF president has convened an urgent leadership meeting behind closed doors. The agenda: to chart a unified response to the court's decision and to map out the party's next political steps. Among the options being discussed are a constitutional appeal, a renewed legal defense fund for imprisoned members, and a nationwide mobilization tour to reclaim Zambia's democracy. Inside State House, officials have remained tight-lipped. Government spokespersons have declined to engage directly with the PF's accusations, issuing only a brief statement asserting that the president respects the independence of the judiciary and will not interfere in legal matters. Still, questions persist, and not just within political circles. Will Raphael Nakacinda's legal team pursue a final appeal to the Constitutional Court? Could this ruling become a rallying point for a broader opposition alliance? And how will it reshape Zambia's political tone as the 2026 elections approach? For now, the streets of Lusaka reflect a nation on edge, divided between those who see justice being served and those who believe democracy itself is on trial. One thing is clear: this standoff between the PF and the government is far from over. So tonight, Raphael Nakacinda's fate appears sealed, at least for now, as he begins serving his 18-month jail sentence following the High Court's decision to uphold his conviction for defamation of the president. But beyond the courtroom, the ruling has reignited a heated national conversation about freedom of speech, political tolerance, and the boundaries of criticism in a democratic society still defining its limits. For the Patriotic Front, this moment has become more than a legal battle. It's a rallying cry. The party's acting president has vowed to continue the fight, framing Nakacinda's imprisonment as a symbol of political persecution. Across social media, PF supporters are calling for unity and resistance, while some civic groups have urged dialogue, not confrontation. Meanwhile, government voices maintain that the rule of law must stand firm. Officials insist that Nakacinda's conviction is not about politics, but about accountability, that no individual, regardless of rank or influence, should be immune from legal responsibility. The result is a nation split down the middle. To some, the case represents the strength of Zambia's legal institutions. To others, it's a warning sign that democracy could be drifting toward suppression. As the dust begins to settle, one reality becomes clear: this story is far from over. Nakacinda's supporters are preparing for appeals and mass mobilizations, while the government remains adamant that the courts must not be undermined. And as Zambia moves closer to another election cycle, this case will continue to echo in political debates, church sermons, and everyday conversations about justice and power.
For InspirAfrica Official, I'm Nakash.
Stay with us for continuing coverage on this developing story, and follow our verified platforms for real-time updates.
Good day.